Oh, I made some new music, by the way. Check us out. All right.
Oh, nice.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the We Talking Pod. That's me messing with a bunch of loops over on GarageBand. I was really happy with this.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, that sounds great, actually. I kind of was like feeling it. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I would dare say that this almost slaps, is what the kids would say today. Dude, Anthony
Almost.
Crawford had one of the funniest bits when he was like, when people are talking about, yeah, that music slaps, man. I would just want to hear a kid be like, you hear that new Ike Turner joint? That shit slaps like a motherfucker. And I felt bad because I was the only one who was laughing because apparently these kid, a lot of the younger kids don't know who Ike Turner
Yeah,
is,
no.
and I'm like, yeah, oh,
Yeah, I know that, yeah, but man, that shit's the worst. You,
oh,
you feel like you feel like reverse Marty McFly.
yeah, Jesus,
You know what I mean?
right, oh,
But your dad will love it.
yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, guys, welcome to another episode of We Talking Podcast. This is a podcast formerly in the Mansplaining Show. This is basically we're talking. Talking about random shit, local stuff that's going on in the news and stuff. Occasionally one of us will have a rant. I don't know. I don't have a rant this week. But I don't know if you've got one, Jake. Or just random stuff you want to like, there's another thing I fucking hate, like, oh shit. Uh trying to see if I can get this screen just a little bit better for you. And I'm a stand-up comic and a podcaster out here in Denver, Colorado. Jake is a comic out there in Phoenix. About ready to get started. Stuff you hit. I haven't hit any mics. I did 2 shows last week, but I haven't hit any mic. No, I hit one mic. That was it.
Well, I mean, as long as you're doing shows, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you're doing shows.
Oh,
If you got shows going on, that
I
should
learned some
count.
shit. I learned some shit last week.
But
Oh my god.
oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Like,
The first one I did, there was like nobody in the crowd, so I was performing just for the other comics. But that was up in Boulder.
yeah,
Um,
I've been there.
yeah, and I always remember what was it? Something that Bill Burr had said that I thought that was uh, kind of inspirational. He says when you're in your younger days, you're going to be spending most of your time just performing for a bunch of empty chairs. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I was doing. And he's like, yeah, that'll be some of the best sets of your life. And I'm like, fair enough, man. And Jenny was there, so that was kind of nice. Since she works up there, around there in that area in Boulder. And then the second one I did, this is my first time performing at Pueblo. And I did the Blue Cactus Room. It's run by Donna Shannon. And PJ Johnson was the headliner. I was the feature.
Yeah.
Jeff Cohen opened. And then Jason Mazik was the host. And
Okay.
yeah, I didn't know him either. He seemed like a decent guy though.
The name sounds really familiar.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Um, I wonder if he's from. Does that, anything from the Boston area kind of strike a bell? Because he was talking about Boston like he kind of knew that scene fairly well.
I mean, I would imagine, shit, I mean, it was like, dude, all the people I know from Boston are the people I knew when they were in Portland, Maine. Swear
Okay.
to God.
Mm,
Like every Boston comic except for like a couple. All of them I met in Portland, Maine, and then they eventually went to Boston
mm,
and started doing shit in Boston. And then they went all over the place. But I was there in the heyday of like Jenny Zagrino, my friend Lou. Who's the other guy that was fucking big? Who was really funny? Oh God, there's a bunch of other people. But I started with guys like Sam Ike. What's his name? Just had a fucking stroke for fuck's sake. Goddamn.
good old
Fucking
what's his name?
Nathan.
Yeah.
Nathan. Fucking Nathan.
Okay.
And sorry, fucking Mark Gallagher's another one. Like in that time.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my brain just blanked. My
Yeah,
bad.
no worries. But no, he had a pretty decent set. But it was like when I get there, the crowd is mostly in their 50s. They're all older than me, and
Ooh, that's
and
good.
yeah, they're older than Jeff Cohn, and Jeff Cohn was definitely the oldest guy there. So we're like, all right, let's see how this goes. And they're doing fairly well. And there's a joke that I've done. I've even put it up on Instagram about the me training like a young kid on how to make pizzas and stuff. And I have done that joke all over Denver, Fort Collins, Boulder, and I've gotten good responses from every place that I went to. I got groans when I did it down Pueblo.
Oh
And I
no!
was like,
No.
okay, well, let me just fucking double down on this stuff. And so I don't say it, I didn't bomb, but I didn't do well either. And some folks like, oh, you're either crushing or you're bombing. I'm like, no, there's a lot of shit in between, you know. And I still have yet to listen to the audio. I got to listen back to it because there's definitely like I just haven't been brave enough to do it yet. Like I did that Star Wars bit that I had, and I've been trying that. It's basically like an old vaudeville bit, but you know, it's middle management of the rebel base trying to talk to Luke Skywalker. Like, why the fuck did you turn off your targeting computer? Just curious, since we're
Yeah.
all gonna die here, and we figure we got one shot left, and this guy decided, nah, fuck it, I'm gonna free ball it, you know, and just put my dick out and see if I could knock out the Death Star with it. And that shit, I mean, I've been trying to make that work, and I think I got to put it on a shelf for a bit. I'll come back to it later, and I got to rewrite it because it's like the first time I did it, or first couple times I did it, it crushed, or it did well. I won't say it crushed. And then I've just eaten piles of shit with it ever since, and that's been a couple years now. And I'm like, you know, I'll drag it out every couple of months, see if I can work it again, and then it just doesn't. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to put it on the shelf for a little bit, go back, rewrite it, and if it doesn't do anything, I just got to let it go, you know. But one of the things that I had learned because I also like the last time I saw PJ Johnson, he was an open micer, right? Just like a year into it, and he's a couple years into it now, and he's been doing the road a lot. And I say this in the best way possible because I know some comics will be like, "Oh, you fucking definitely your act smells like the road." And I'm like, no, I seen him like he turned this crowd around. I mean, not that they were angry or pissed off or anything like that, but I didn't set it up for the next comic the way that I wanted it to. I wanted everybody to be fucking laughing hysterically so that way they're riding a wave. He kind of had to dig himself out of a hole a little bit, and that was a hole that I created for him, and I did not feel happy about that. I'm like, ah, shit, man, you know? So, I was trying to get a hold of another Boston comic out here, Chuck Roy. I got to ask him. I'm like, okay, so one of the things that's absolutely clear to me is that, like, when it comes to new stuff, I'll still work out in Denver, but in the order for me to go forward, I have to get out of Denver. I got to keep doing these small fucking little rooms and stuff because I'm like, this was bad. Like, I haven't tripped over a set. I haven't felt uncomfortable in years. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, you know, that feeling where you're like, oh, this isn't going to, like, first couple of years of doing comedy and you're bombing and you're like, oh God, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of this? I haven't felt that in fucking years. And that night I was like, yeah, this isn't good. Like this isn't
No,
somebody that,
that is something that's happened to me a couple times where it's just like, I mean, like recently,
yeah.
where it's like I forgot what that felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Not because like I been questioning so much,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been doing it.
Yeah.
So it's the fact that I went out and I felt that fucking douche feel you get when you tell you that first joke or two,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole room is like not feeling it. Like
Yeah.
they're not booing, they're not like audibly fucking showing dislike.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they're dead.
Yeah.
They don't got it, and you're trying to like get them back, dude. And it's fucking. I forgot the panic of that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had it happen to me with you with that Mike we did a Mesa,
Yeah.
I was like, fuck.
It's just one of those things where you're like, God damn it,
Yeah.
I forgot. I'm better than this. I know I'm fucking way better than this. It's like you almost want to go like, guys, go to my YouTube page and look up some of the past performances that I've done. You'll hear these same jokes that you didn't like, but other people think it's really, really funny, and they're like, yeah, nobody gives a shit. We didn't think it was funny. So there was some stuff that I didn't really that some people laughed at. And like I said, it wasn't complete silence for 20 minutes. but I would say maybe out of that 20 minutes, maybe 8 to 10 was good. And the rest of it, and it was all kind of spotty and stuff. So I was like, all right, I'm looking back, I'm like, the pizza joke I could have set up differently. And there's times where that joke didn't land well. And then if I set it up, wow, it's actually this one little thing where I'll go like, hey, has anybody worked in the kitchen? Because for those of you who have, that the kitchen are the nicest people who work in that whole restaurant. We always take your feelings into account. And everybody knows, obviously, if you haven't worked in a restaurant, that I'm obviously lying. Because, I'm like, yeah, we have 40 tickets hanging, but please, let's talk about your feelings for a moment. You know what I mean? So, and then that sets it up for the whole abortion thing. Because when I mentioned abortion, I think that's what frickin' they got them all clammed up. Because these are all like old school Christian conservatives and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not saying yes or no on this. I'm just saying that's what that pizza looked like. And I really dig that joke, but it was just kind of like, okay, well, I skipped one of the parts of the setup. It's kind of like that bit that I did in Boulder that you and Tobias almost had to bail me out of. That guy that got all pissed off about the special needs racist, and
yeah, we were like, yeah, get out of here,
dude. I remember that. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm trying to talk the dude down and everything, and luckily because I managed bars for so many years and stuff, I know how to talk to drunk people. Not that I enjoy it, but I remember as I'm talking to him, I could see frickin' Tobias has got that fucking Charlie Manson look in his eye, and which if you guys knew who Tobias Livingston is, you'd be like, oh no, I could totally see that Charlie M fucking look. Charlie M, you make me pop your eye out for Charlie. No, it's a line from Casino. But yeah, it was one of those things where if I didn't set up or talk about the bit before that punchline, how I'm half Mexican and how everything this kid was saying was really pissing me off, because people just think I'm a white guy talking about somebody who isn't white or whatever. And I mean, it was Boulder, and on top of that, this dude was fucking coked to the gills and drunk and trying to impress a lady. It was just like the trifecta of shit you don't want to have to deal with.
Yeah, that's the worst. You get all three of them together, fucking, it's, oh man.
Yeah. But that's the comedy game. So like I was trying to get some advice. I wasn't able to talk to him this evening, but but yeah, I'm like, all right, I got to talk to some people who've been doing the road. I mean, I know I can't. I'm not calling them and like, hey, who are all the contacts and can you vouch for me? I'm not asking for that because that's like a really really big ask. That's something that somebody's own brother might think twice about doing that for somebody else because if you vouch for the wrong person, that affects the person who vouched for him just as much as the person who's bombing. You know what I mean? So, so the best you can do is like, hey, I've done this shows. I work with this producer and stuff. They could tell you how I work if or I don't know. You still have to kind of check with other people to do that, and it's weird. But I don't know. It was educational. Like it was as I was driving back from Pueblo. I'm like, that wasn't the Seth that I wanted, but that was the Seth that I needed. And I'm like, all right. Next crisis, you know what I mean? So it's fun shit like that, But man, how was your week?
It was pretty fucking boring, honestly. Like that's the killer for me right now. Holy fuck, I'm bored. I really am. It's eating me alive. But like I'm also trying to I've been trying to be as patient as possible. I'm trying to there's a few things in my life I'm trying to like get done. And then I feel like once I'm over those hurdles, then I can kind of really, go and do stuff I want to do. But like, I got these weird hurdles in front of me that I gotta I just can't jump them. I gotta wait. I gotta build up to get over. It's like paying my car loan, finding a new apartment, yada, yada, yada. You know what I'm saying? Before I can really feel like I can, because I don't want to have anything in my peripheral when I'm trying to do something. Like I gotta get all that shit out of the way.
Right.
Whatever the fuck's in the way, get it out of the fucking way. And then once that's out of the way, then I'll be like full bore on that. But again, if this is like a montage, like the montages in movies.
Yeah.
Montage, they show them like working out, boxing and shit. I'm in that part. I'm in the part where I'm like Clive in Siberia, about to fight, about to punch. Like I'm in that part of it. And there's a reason why they skip all that. There's a reason why they skip all that shit is because it's not worth watching. It's just not worth watching.
This is the reason why we're doing a montage instead of actually doing whole scenes about everything that you're doing, because nobody would give a shit. So like, yeah, here's a fucking sample of it, you know.
Yeah. Like that's why like whenever like something happens in a movie like crazy, and then at the very end it's like 2 years later. Yeah, because in those 2 years, that person had to like go through some therapy and to like have the realization of life or something crazy. You know, yeah, they don't want to show you any of that. They don't want to show you the hard work. And it's 2 years later, and then they're better. Like,
so I got to hit my vape pen. It's okay, folks. For anybody not in Arizona and Colorado, it's for fucking chemo shit. It was funny. I remember I was hitting this and I was coughing, and my mom was like, "Hey, you need some," because my mom was staying with and helping out after the surgery. She's like, "Hey, mijo, do you need some water? Do you need some? You need some medicine?" And I'm like, no. She's like, "Yeah, it sounds like a bad cough." I'm like, "It's called weed, Mom. This is what happens when you smoke weed." And she's like, "Ah." It was just I never never thought that was something I was gonna have to say to my mom. So I tried to get her to smoke it. She wouldn't do it. By the way.
No. One of the weirdest days of my life is when I watched my mom roll a joint, and she did it flawlessly.
Really?
And it fucking broke me. Yeah. Wait, me and my brother were like 18 at the time. Me, actually maybe a little bit younger. Like 7. We're like on the cusp of almost being out of high school. You know what I'm saying? You know, but either I was, and he wasn't. Whatever. It was like that age, right? And my mom, my dad, my godparents were all at my aunt's dining table, and they're just talking.
Mm-hmm.
My godmother's husband throws a bag of weed out. Fucking, here goes my mom, pulls out a zigzag. Fucking boom, boom, boom. Fucking rolls it like a champion. Jeez. And I'm like, my brother just looked at each other like, "Are you fucking shitting me?" She can roll. I mean, why didn't you? These are things you should have taught me.
Right.
I'm the world's worst pothead. Whenever I'm at, "Hey, Mom, like, show me how to roll a joint." That would be a hilarious conversation. But like, she could have. I mean, come on.
I could have been much cooler in high school, Mom, if you would have taught me this. Like,
man, fuck, I could have needed all the help I could have gotten, for fuck's sake. Yeah, no, she rolled it. You know, that fucking, they sparked it up, you know, and all that. But yeah, I got high with my dad once, and it was fucking weird.
Really?
Like getting drunk with your dad's one thing.
Yeah.
It's whatever. Done it a couple times. It is what it is. We ended up arguing about stupid shit and then falling asleep. For like every time we did it. Getting high with him was strange because like I was like 18, 19, and he was still kind of like, I don't know, like, you're still my kid. I don't want to. And I'm just like, come on, relax. Just, you know, we smoked the joint, and like the high was like the weirdest high of my life.
Really?
I just wanted to get the fuck out of there. I want to get the fuck out of that room. It was like a weird energy. Like, get me out of here. Like, I'm high. Bye. I'm fucking leaving. So it's a fucking weird one.
Well, you know, it's that kind of stands to reason, though, right? Because you're kind of in a more vulnerable state when you're freaking baked. And being around your dad and everything, you're like, geez, man, are we going to start talking about feelings? Because I don't think any of us want that, you know? So.
Yeah, no.
So that could be a lot to it. Who knows? But, I'm trying to gussy up the freaking thing here. Bink. There you go. It's weird you mentioned like hurdles and stuff, because the more I've been thinking about that, where I'm like, which hurdles are actually in front of me and which ones that I put there myself? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's always kind of a tricky thing. I'm like, shit, you know. So like right now the hurdles are I have to I got to start packing up way more of this stuff instead of like doing a little tiny bit every day. So that way most of the stuff is boxed up on moving day, so that way we don't have to worry about this shit. You know, it's just basically we have movers coming in to like, here, pick all the stuff up, drag it on over. You know, you guys take care of all that stuff, and then we'll just unpack it when we get to the new place, you know. But then there's the other stuff, like I had the PET scan, which is basically, for folks, you guys who don't know, it's like this deep scan they do. It's kind of like an MRI. They put some dye in you and try to see if there's, as far as all the cancer cells and all the other stuff like that, and what's reacting and stuff, if there's any issues. And for the most part, everything is still shrinking. However, they did say there's an infection in your neck that it could be one of two things. It could be cancer again, or it's more likely an infection because it looks like one of the screws in your neck is loose.
Oh, oh
And
boy.
so that was one that was put in front of me. I mean, the funny part about it was, is Jenny's like, I already told you had to screw loose. Now it's official. I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense. But we went. I was supposed to get a biopsy on Tuesday, and they put the IV in, and I'm all dressed and stuff. I'm on the bed, waiting for them to come in, and I'm like, all right, they should. They said they were going to be in a couple of minutes. It's like a half hour later. Doctor comes in. He's like, hey, how's it going, guys? All right, I'll just give it to you straight. I'm not doing it. It was like it's too risky of an area to go in for a biopsy
Yeah.
because I'd have to go into the bone, and if there's any bleeding or anything at all, the only place it has to go to is your spinal cord, and that could result in paralysis or some serious permanent damage. So we need to find another way to deal with whatever it is. It looks like an infection, because the pictures and stuff. He's like, I got a feeling this is more infection than it is anything because it's like it didn't look like the cancer that was in my neck before. The
Yeah.
stuff that was in my neck before in the tumor was like tendrils going through a bunch of stuff. This just seems like it radiated in a circle, and I'm like, oh, that's probably. I'm guessing that's going to be the screw and everything. So maybe they just, I don't know. I got to talk to the doctor either tomorrow or I get to see him on Monday, and they'll be like, all right, antibiotics, I guess. Have to get the swelling down so we can take another look at it, and or the infection to go away before they do anything because it's not like the neck surgeon guy's going to want to go in there if everything's already infected and stuff. He's like, yeah, there's a good chance I can make it worse, that type of thing. So, yeah, that's interesting stuff. But that's the shit that's put in front of me, not the stuff I put in front of myself. There's really nothing I could have done to see if this thing was going to go away or not. So,
Damn.
it is. It is what it is. So now we just got to fucking wait. But yeah, that's a cancer update in case anybody was really curious about it. It's really weird. I don't really care too much to talk about it so much anymore. But even though I'm the one who brought it up, but I just thought I hadn't told you about what was going on.
I got you.
But I don't know. Let's see. What was the other things that was going on? So the new place that we're moving to, their clubhouse is freaking amazing. Like it's a place that you would want to hang. Like their gym looks nicer than the big gym that's next door to where we live. Like it's really 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 cool shit. And like they have a little rock climbing wall. They have a fucking snowboarding simulator. I'm like, really snowboard? Yeah, it's weird. It looks like a big huge massive treadmill. And I don't know how it works. I'm not gonna use it, but I'm like, huh, that's interesting. But they have like there's this big kind of a meeting space, right? And along the walls of both meeting spaces, there's smaller rooms, like rooms that you can close the door and stuff and kind of soundproof it. So like, oh, I could finally. I feel the only people I ever invited over to do podcasts were people like who were friends of mine, like you, or Armstrong or Bear or whatnot.
Yeah.
Anybody else, I felt really weird about it. If it was a female guest, I felt super weird. Like I didn't even ask him because I don't want to be one like, oh my god, the fact that if I invited anybody over to my house to talk for an hour or a girl to talk for an hour and everything, it seems really weird. I'm asking her to take a big risk that I'm not some fucking creep, and I'm not. But still, if I have a place that I can record that's away from the apartment, that's like in the clubhouse, then I'm like, oh, I could start asking different people to come over and do podcasts and stuff again. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm excited about getting guests back on the show on a consistent basis. So that should be fun.
Nice.
Yeah. So that whole thing will be cool. It'll also be nice because Jenny won't have to drive 2 hours a day, to and from her job. So,
Jesus.
yeah, no, it's been more rough on her than anything. So, but yeah, let's see. Oh, I put out I clipped up a video of the Velma thing. So that's kind of doing pretty well. It's nice. Still getting, figuring out other ways to promote this channel and stuff. Every video that I watch, it always starts off the same way. Hey guys, if you like the video, please hit subscribe. I'm like, dude, everybody fucking knows that already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of all my voicemails. Says, hey, at the end of this, please leave a message. Like, yeah, we know how a fucking voicemail works. I didn't time travel from 1975 where I'm like, the guy's talking, but he wants me to talk even though he's not there, but he is there. What's going on? That doesn't make any sense. So, Yeah, either way, that's why I just put the fucking subscribe thing on there. It's not like a button or anything. I
Yeah.
should probably do that. There's like so much shit I don't know about YouTube. And I really don't
Oh,
want to learn, to be honest with you, because that means I have to look at some fucking douchebag's video. And it's always the same thing. It's always a dude who's like, all right, here, let's see if I can. Here's a good example of it. I don't know if you could see it on the screen, but it's always some dude who's like, his face is right up at the camera, right? He's like, hey, are you not making $30,000 a day driving a Bentley and screwing your best friend's wife? Well, then you need to watch my video, you know, and it's the same
yeah,
fucking thing.
yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, like they're talking to you like you're an idiot for not being a millionaire, which maybe I am. I mean, let's be honest. But um,
What's wild about those guys is like this is like the first time you've seen him
yeah,
ever.
ever.
And then you look, he's got like 3 million subscribers, and you're like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
How did you? I don't even know who you are. And I'm on this thing a lot, and I'm surprised I didn't run into you.
Yeah,
You got
exactly.
yeah, like so it's weird.
It's funny, like, okay, many people could say that this show or the premise of even this show or the last show was kind of bullshit. Like, who are you guys to give advice about anything? Like, listen, I only give advice about stuff that I've been successful in. I wouldn't try to give
Yeah.
you guys advice and stuff on how to manage a comedy career or social media. I just go up and freaking do it, and whatever happens, happens. You know, there's people who are more calculated about it and more aggressive about it, and that's cool. Um, but there's a lot of videos of young men trying to give advice to other young men who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I think,
Yeah.
in my opinion. So there was one that you shared that it was a positive message, but it was from a young guy giving advice about as far as materialism and stuff and who you need to be in order to be successful. And I'm like, man, this would make a lot more sense to me if you had been married for 10 years, have fucking 3 smart kids who aren't going through a bunch of shit right now, and have been financially successful where you could provide for all those people. But you don't. You're 24 years old talking about how people need to not be materialistic. And I'm like, there's a disconnect that's kind of missing. I think where I'm like, yes, materialism is bad. I would agree with that. But um and this is a weird thing is because I think there's a lot of advice and a lot of not quote knowledge that's going around the internet from people in their 20s, and I don't know how to tell them that the way you are in your 20s is not the way you're going to live your life in your 30s. Definitely not in the way you're going to live your life in your 40s. And if you're still living like your 20s and your 40s, and you're not a millionaire, it's just kind of sad. You know what I mean? It's like you ever see that 40, like the woman in her mid 40s and stuff who's never had a serious boyfriend and freaking gets drunk at that obnoxious drunk at the bar every weekend. And there's obnoxious drunk guys in the 40s and still doing the same shit, right? But
Oh
um,
yeah.
but it was kind of like, hey guys, you're talking about theory, not about experience right now. And I don't know, it's like everybody. There's a lot of young kids. I don't know if it's all the same college they went to or whatever, but they really bought hook, line, and seeker into the whole secret thing. You know that your will manifests reality, and I'm like, not necessarily. You know, like, no, guys, if we all just keep talking about how we're not going to be materialistic, the girls aren't going to care about that. I'm like, nope. There's a reason why girls feel that way, and this is my opinion. I'm not a fucking social psychologist or whatever, but um, it's not that they think that guy who has more money is a better person, but on a biological level, if they want to have kids, they're like, who's going to be able to who's the better guy that's going to be able to provide for them? Like, love is, yes, obviously important, but so is kids not starving. You know what I mean? And no matter, there's no amount of YouTube videos is ever going to make freaking women think about that. Think about your feeling before her kids. Like, it's not going to happen. So you know what I mean? So they're going to think what's the best environment. And guys kind of do the same thing with gals. There's a reason why there's not a lot of guys that try to find the hottest chick in the bar to start a family with. You know what I mean? We're like, all right, who's going to be the most loving? Who's going to be the most, caring? Who would be able to help me, one, have kids with, and two, be a good mom for him as well. You know what I mean? Like, there's rarely ever a case where a guy's like, all right, I want to have a kid with this woman, but I want this woman to raise it. Like, that doesn't happen. At least I don't think it is. Maybe there is somewhere like in fucking Romania. I don't know, but Andrew Tate's working it out right now, guys. So we can all relax.
But that's the thing. He's like, that whole thing with him, right? I'm not gonna get into that. I already have him past podcast, but like I find it hilarious almost that the people that are anti-Tate are shocked that there are men out there that like what he's saying. Like they can't. That's the part that's hilarious to me. They can't comprehend it. They don't. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one thing to not like it. I think that they don't like it, but they also don't understand. You know what I mean? They need to understand. I think if they understood, I'm not defending it, by the way,
right?
Because you could understand something and still fucking think it sucks, which I think a lot of them would if they really did understand. But like, if you understand, it means you know what the problem is. You know why this is happening now. You're like, oh, because of this, this, and this. That's why there's all these disaffected fucking dudes that are like, fuck this. I need a guy that's going to show me the way. And everyone, you know, and everyone around you, like, especially if you're like a white dude. I'm not trying to paint him as like the martyr here, but I'm just saying like this is cause and effect. If you tell an entire generation of white guys they ain't shit, when
eventually
they
believe it.
About what's that?
Eventually they're going to believe it. You tell somebody something long enough, eventually they believe it.
Yeah, or the ones that like want to fight it off, so like they got to find a way to fucking like not be like this, and then here comes Andrew Tate, the messiah of misogyny.
Yeah.
And he comes out and he's just like, I'll show you the way you can be a hustler. Hustler, come on, be a G. You know, all that shit. And, you know, he's got his shit. He's got his fucking cars and all that stuff. And he has a relationship with like his brother, which every dude wants to have like a fucking really cool, like a brother that you hang out with all the time and all that stuff. And he's appealing to all the dude stuff. And he's just, it's a magnet. And they're coming in.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because they need someone to show them the way. Is his way the way? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, he's right on some things, and he's no thank you to other things, I should say. But
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on the fucking guy. I kind of see it as a ruse, the whole Hustler University thing, where he's like, dudes are paying like $30 a month to like learn how to be a G, and I'm like, this is fucking weird. Like.
Yeah. No, it's real simple. It's called be a selfish dickhead. Don't think about anybody else's needs or feelings other than yourself. Only look out for number one, and then you will acquire more stuff because you'll take it as long as somebody doesn't come along and start beating the shit out of you, which is an entire possibility. But if you're paying for those G classes, you're learning that, hey, you need to get in shape. You need to be able to defend yourself, which isn't that's once again, it's not a bad idea. Like the guy just like, oh, you know what the thing is, and I wonder, I'll put the blame on the Gen X crowd and the 80s crowd, not the boomers. Because I think maybe because of the way that the world evolved and the way the economy started going, and then, you know, there's all these other different issues where both members of the couple, the man and the wife, they're focused on their careers or they're focused on other things, and as a result, there's nobody there for the kids. And as a result, like if you're a guy and you're working 70 hours a week, I don't know how much time you're going to be spending with your son. Because I know all young men, when we're young, we want fucking our dads to be there and be like, all right, this is what you got to do, son. You know, instead of being like, I don't know, you figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
And as a result, when there's nobody there, because guys, they fucking need leadership. They just do. The majority of guys do. I'm sure there's some dudes out there like, I don't need a leader. I'm like, yeah, okay, great. Good for you. Guess what? You're the leader now. Fucking, you know, but when they're that dude, the fucking guys like Andrew Tate, they fill a vacuum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
just what's going on, and then like suddenly you get some dude like. I would like to think there's a lot of dudes out there that would know to spot the stuff, the good advice from the bad advice. But at the same time, we've also had conversations before. I'm like, dude, there can't be that many dudes who are creeps out there. And then we hear like 10 stories from the comedy scene.
Yeah. Or just in general. I mean, it's just, dude, but also like, it's gotten to the point where they're getting even more ballsier. Where they're doing like wild shit. And you're like, what the fuck? And then, you know, and it's just fucking nasty. But like, it's weird. There's a weird like uptick in like a lot of these chicks who make the stuff up, which then kind of like dulls the fucking point of the actual creep dude. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's the whole game of. That's what, you know what I'm saying? Because like, dude, yeah, I've seen it with my own two eyes where a dude just being a dude. Yeah, like Dude, there's a guy that I used to hang around with back in high school that I literally had to cut all ties with because he was being this much of a creep.
Oh,
I've known him. I knew him for years. I knew him for like 3-4 years. But the red flag was so fucking big and huge and fucking wavy that I couldn't ignore it. I used to just play like street hockey shit with him and shit back in the day. And he was at my graduation party from my high school one. I was fucking hammered, right? Because I guilted my parents into getting a beer bong, like, you know what I'm saying?
right.
Even though I'm 18. Yeah, I'm like 17. I'm like, buy me booze, mom. So I kind of like talked him into it. He shows up. One of my coworkers that I worked with at the restaurant in New York, she shows up. And this dude won't leave her the fuck alone. Well, to the point where, like, people that she came with were now forcibly sitting next to her, so this guy would just stay the fuck away. Like, he wouldn't take no. And she's like, I have to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, and he goes, I'll take you. And he jumps in real quick. And I'm like, no, I live here. I'll walk her in.
Yeah.
So I walk her in, and she's like, what is this dude's fucking problem? I'm like, I have no idea.
Right.
I have no fucking idea. I didn't know he was like this. I didn't know that. It's like I brought a known creeper to a fucking thing. Like, I honestly did not know.
Yeah.
And then I saw him a week later, and he's like, hey man, like, what's that Teresa girl's name? Like, last name? I just said her first name. Fuck, my bad. But he's like, what's her last name? And I'm like, I ain't telling you shit. Like, I'm like, I don't know.
It's like, dude.
I played the I don't know card. Yeah. And and then he found out he found out that like her schedule and all this shit, and I was like, dude, you gotta stop.
Yeah.
Like, you have to stop. And then but the thing is, he would show up a couple times, and I told our managers, like, this dude shows up, kick him out. And I think that's what ended up happening. Like, I don't think he ever showed up again. But then I stopped hanging out with him. I was like, I can't with you, man.
Yeah.
I fucking can't. I cannot, dude. Because he was just a weird dude. Like, that kind of, like, the mask slipped on that dude. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of different, but I'll tell my story in just a second. But yeah, did the guy ever like try to fucking contact you, or did he eventually just get the hint, or?
Oh yeah, no, this is like before cell phones and all that shit. So yeah, I just stopped hanging out with him. I stopped. My buddy happened to move, who lived in that neighborhood. That's how I knew him. Like, he was like neighbors with my friend.
Oh, okay.
And once my friend moved, like, I had no reason to go to that fucking neighborhood ever again. So I just didn't go. And he didn't have my phone number, so it didn't matter. So I just didn't go there. But, you know, it is what it is. I bumped into him a couple times in college when I was at the community college in town. And I was just like, I just gave him a hi, and then he's like, hey, what's good? You know, I tried talking to me. He's like, I'm good, dude. And he kept on walking.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping he got the hint. But I couldn't with that guy. That was just fucking weird.
I had this guy. It was a friend of mine back in high school, and it's so weird. So like, there's a thing, like, when you focus on all the things that you don't have, and you see somebody else who has those things, you tend not to notice the other shit that's going on with them, right? So like, because I am notorious for only looking at the shit that's not going right in my life and not looking at everything that's going well. You know, so like, high school was tough basically because my dad died freshman year. So I'm an intense dude. Even if had that not happened and stuff. So I was a fucking emotional, crazy dude. And one of my friends, he had like both of his, he had a stepdad, but he, you know, had a really, really loving mom. Like, if you the type of mom you would see in a sitcom, you know what I mean? The guy was talented, musically and stuff, knew how to play the guitar really well, and smart dude, tall, attractive dude, and a nice guy as well. The only weird thing is that, you know, he never had a girlfriend, which I always thought was kind of weird, right? I was wondering, I wonder if he was gay or not, but like, I think he was more like just asexual in general. You know, he just had no interest whatsoever. I'm like, all right. So I move away. I hadn't talked to this guy, and I think I saw him once when I went back home to visit from New York and stuff. But other than that, it'd been over 10, 15 years or something. So, and he was off of social media that entire time. He gets on Facebook, and so a lot of the guys that, you know, not that I really talk to, I mean, the only friend that I still talk to from high school occasionally is Peter Said, who's a freaking nice guy, and he helped out a lot with the GoFundMe and everything. So he's a good guy. And I'm like, have you talked to so and so? I don't want to say his name because he fucking did some weird shit. Um, and he's like, yeah, it's kind of weird talking to him. He seems kind of different. And I'm like, yeah. And to me, I'm like, he seems like he's been doing fucking crack or crank this entire time. And he was never a drug guy. He never fucking drank beer or anything like that. But they moved to a different city from where we grew up, and um, I don't know what happened to him. But when I started talking to this guy again, like he'd always be like, "Yeah, dude, listen to your podcast. Don't quit your day job." Ha ha ha. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm still doing it. Whatever. I'm doing comedy. He's like, yeah, probably not that funny though. And he's just kind of like doing these stupid fucking infantile digs at me, and I'm like, okay, like I don't give a fuck what you think. You know what I mean? Like, and you don't know
Yeah.
anything about stand up or anything that I'm doing, so you're fucking like, it's just everything was baseless. And when he would text me, it wasn't just one text; it was like 15 texts after another, one after another,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and he just kept saying such, just kind of talking shit. And so I sent him back the clip or the link for Narcotics Anonymous and the town that he grew up in. And then he fucking starts leaving voicemails like, yo, fuck you, man. You don't know what the fuck my life's about. And I'm like, okay, first of all, you're not a tough guy. I know
Yeah.
that you think you are, but you're not a fucking tough guy. I don't give a shit how many fucking drug dealers you know, you're not a fucking tough guy. You know what I mean? He's just a fucking very like spoiled. Like there were
Oh,
so many things that were kind of handed to him, and just there was like he was weird. He was like kept bringing up this other dude from high school that he's like, you know what that guy's all about. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't think about that dude. I haven't spoke with him. He's like, yeah, dude, you know what I'm talking about. What happened on GT? And I'm like, I don't know what you're fucking talking about. Like it's like somebody. Imagine somebody, the most drunk guy that you've ever met, but he's not speaking like he's drunk. He's just like bringing up weird, stupid shit, and I'm like, eventually, I'm like, I gotta fucking cut this guy out. And then he started leaving like negative reviews and stuff on fucking like on my podcast and all this other shit. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about this dude anymore. And
wow. Yeah,
yeah,
this
no,
guy's going into like creeper territory. Like,
no,
what the
he
fuck, man?
big time, both him and his brother apparently, and it's just kind of like I didn't see all the other shit that was probably going on with that dude. You know what I mean? There was probably a bunch of stuff that, growing up that I just never noticed because, they had like this really nice house, a really nice, it was a nice family and everything. Like it wasn't the type of family where, they're being neglected and, one of the parents is drunk and smacking the shit out of him on a daily basis. It wasn't anything like that. It was like, man, I don't get it. This guy had everything handed to him. But like I said, there was probably a bunch of shit going on that I had no idea of. And I'm like, well, I
I
mean,
bet you if I had to put on my I think I know shit about kids hat.
mhm. Yeah,
uh, um, I think of what it was is the parenting. The parenting were like, and I've seen this before, like in kids and shit. And then like, it's funny, like you'll see kids grow up and then like you'll leave for a while, then you come back to town
mhm.
and you're like, oh, I know exactly why you're like that. But what what happens basically is like they want something, you tell them no, they become shitty, do shitty things, they cave,
Yeah,
repeat, over and over and over again. And that's how you get that personality where like he thinks that if he just continues to say something shitty, you're gonna just do what he wants you to do. You're gonna dance,
yeah,
monkey. He wants you to dance. And here's the thing: is like you can't live your life like that because no one's gonna want to be around you.
yeah,
No one's gonna want. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just one of those things where it's like you might have a few friends, but like at the end of the day, like even they're gonna get sick of your shit. And it's a terrible way to live your life.
or
You
you
know,
just around
uh,
other people who are only hanging around because they want to get something, just like it's like the same type of group of people, just selfish freaking cunts, basically. But yeah, it was really weird because the thing is, like, he was a good. I mean, in high school, he was a good friend, and it
weird.
really, really sucked that I'm like, I gotta cut this guy out. I gotta cut him loose. And then I talked to one of my other friends who knew him, and he was like, basically, and he kind of held on for a bit longer than anybody else did. But for the most part, they're like, yeah,
Man.
no, no, I can't do this, man. I'm like, man, it's a bummer. It's like if you grew up in a fucking super shitty part of town, right? And you're around freaking like basically thuggish people, drug dealers, whatever, it doesn't even have to be a drug dealer. It'd just be a bunch of fucking angry, aggressive fucking dudes that live in your neighborhood. And then as I was growing up, I would see these kids who came from like suburban neighborhoods and stuff with nice families, but they want to kind of like, I don't know if it's some type of guilt or they're just looking for some type of adventure, and they start getting involved with like freaking, you know, weed isn't that big of a thing, but it's like when they start doing coke, like how many rich kids do we see in the scene? Fucking, they're doing what they think is coke. I don't know what it is, but they're like, yeah, I know what it's like in the hood. I'm like, no, that's just where you buy your drugs from. You didn't actually fucking live there. You don't actually have to be there.
Dude, the place where I've seen most of the coke done in front of me ever in my life
Mm-hmm.
was in Boulder.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, in Boulder, like it's all rich kids blowing lines and shit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's who's getting it. That's who's getting. I mean, dude, it's especially in drinking towns, it's a must
Mm-hmm.
because it's like you're if you want to get really fucked up, if you want to get drunk as fuck, just as soon as you start to fade and you've had a few too many, fucking hit a line of coke, fucking you're back in the game, dude.
Yeah.
And then repeat and then repeat and repeat, and then all of a sudden you're gone through a whole 8 ball. It's fucking 6 in the morning, and you're fucking still kind of shit faced.
Yeah.
But you made it through the whole night. That's why they like doing that shit. That's why alcoholics are prone to be also kind of de facto cokehead. Like they'll even tell you, like, I don't do coke sober. I only do it when I'm wasted.
Yeah.
So like you just stop drinking, you never do coke again.
Right.
But yeah, it's also like I saw it a lot in Denver, man. Like you go to any bar, you go to their bathrooms, dude. It's like, come on, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like someone's blowing lines off this fucking urinal. Like I just fucking see I can see the trace marks and fuck things.
Yeah.
Not trace marks, what to do.
It's I don't know, it's a weird thing. And I say this because I've also never done cocaine. I've never done anything harder than weed. I mean, I guess you can count the pain, like the oxys of the pain that I'm doing, but I've been keeping that under control, right?
Yeah.
Like I haven't gone above the recommended dose what they gave me, which was a relatively small amount. But the reason why I never did any stimulants and stuff, like I had a bad freaking impulsive personality to begin with, that I had to deal with, a lot of things. I mean, it wasn't gambling or anything like that, but I can only imagine. Like I was lucky enough. My brothers and sisters, not so much, but all of my older brothers and sisters have all fucking had some crazy shit. Or I would say not all of them, most of them have had experience with like stimulants, and apparently nobody in our family can handle it. Like I've seen, I've known people who are like, yeah, I did coke a bit when in my 20s, man, but I just, I gave it up. I didn't really, like you mentioned about the only time I ever did it is so that way I can drink more. But like, the weird thing is when it comes to addiction, guys, is that there's certain lines that people will cross and they'll be like, holy shit, I'm never doing that again. And then other people are like, oh, this is where I live now,
Yeah,
and
this is the new normal for me now. This is
exactly. So I knew way more people who even have done meth in their younger days when they couldn't find coke, basically. And we're like, yeah, there was one week I was up for 4 days, and I started seeing the shadow people, which is something that is a real thing that like people start seeing like fucking living shadows and stuff off the corner of their eyes and everything like that because their brain's all fucked up. And they're like, yeah, I'm never doing that again. And I gave it up, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. How many people that used to smoke weed in college that haven't really smoked it since then? I mean, there's a decent amount, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So certain drugs are really, really addictive, and other folks are like, yeah, nah, But yeah, I don't know. Why do we start talking? Oh, I'm like, why do we start talking about coke since we never did coke? Oh yeah, it always was really weird for me when I see somebody that came from what I thought was like a good life and a good background and had a lot of opportunity, and they just kind of piss it away. And I've had one of my friends who I don't talk to anymore said the same thing about me. He's like, you had this talent, but you just kind of fucking wasted it. I'm like, oh, fuck off. Like.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Like yeah, remember back when Facebook was like first the thing, like first
yeah.
came out,
Mm-hmm.
and you could and you could like get profiles, and you could like make like this guy would be a really like they'd have these games like who would be the best park ranger? Oh, it'd be him.
Yeah.
Share it, and then like you could guess to see who answered what.
Yeah.
Fucking my cousin's wife's sister said it was gonna be an underachiever.
Oh,
or
that was
something
nice.
like
What a
that.
nice thing to say.
I'm like, fuck you, you know. So, and I barely knew her. I was like, man, fuck you, bitch.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you and your sister, you fucking asshole.
She's like, welcome to fucking welcome to internet. Welcome to the social media. I'm just gonna talk shit about stuff. But yeah, I don't know. But that's a weird thing that human beings do. In the case of one of my old friends, he was actually one of my closest friends growing up. Um, that I didn't think we had a codependent relationship, but when I went back and it's kind of like I've grown as a person, there's certain things I didn't need like anymore. I can't even tell you what, but it was just like he's trying to give me advice on what I should do with my life and what I need to do and what I'm doing wrong, and I'm like, why are you telling me any of this? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense. But maybe that was something that he always needed was somebody to freaking ask him stuff. You know, like I said, it's codependent. Like it was really weird. I remember when I went back to visit, and I didn't realize a lot of my friends were pissed because I left and I left for New York. Like I never really thought about that. And
why though? Yeah, but why though?
I think as
You
weird as it, I think
parents
that we
or
were really close in a lot of ways. People felt like I was abandoning them, maybe in a certain sense. And like,
yeah,
it doesn't. I'm not saying that it made rational sense. It totally didn't. I'm sure if they thought about it for more than a minute, they would be like, "Yeah, that doesn't make any sense." But
yeah,
like, my
yeah,
mom was pissed at me for like she was kind of being shitty with me before I left for New York City. And my mom loved me more than anything. You know what I mean? And like I know that, but I also like it was somebody that's wanting to move on, and I don't know if it's a human nature thing. I wouldn't call it a character flaw because a lot of people do it. They're like, man, this is the way life is, and this guy's gonna go fucking change it, you know, and fuck that guy, you know, and let me try to pull him down. That crab is trying to get out of the bucket, you know.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's fucking weird, man. But I don't know. We had kind of like this weird blow up or something. It was one of those. It was one of those painful things where like you can't go home again. You know, like the buddies you hung out with in high school. You're not gonna want to. It's not gonna be the same good time that if you hung
Yeah.
out with again. You'd be like, man, are you still talking about this shit? These are jokes that I remember you telling in sophomore year. Why are you? You know what I mean? What the fuck,
Yeah.
man? And but it was just yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, all right, you know what? I didn't. I don't think he even answered him. I'm not even sure if I did. I can't even remember what he said. But it was like, I'm not getting involved with this, man. I can like I was living just fine, breathing every day, waking up, going to work for the last 10 years before
Yeah.
when I wasn't talking to you. Guess what? It's going to be just the same if I don't. See ya. And um, I don't know. I mean, we're friends again back on Facebook, but we don't really talk. And it's a weird thing. And I think like there were certain things I was envious about his life, and I think I didn't realize that there were certain things that he thought were envious about mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I'm like, why? But at one point he was like, "You were the first one to get a car. Do you remember that? That you were the first one to do it? Like there were so many things that you had that we didn't." And I'm like, he's got a point. Like I said, I'm notorious for not paying it, not realizing all the good things that I did have. I was just focusing on all the shit that I didn't. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird world that way, man. But um, I would say he's a good example of a friend that I wouldn't call. I hate using that word toxic, but it's not a good thing to talk with somebody every day. So you kind of keep them at arm's length. You're still kind of
Yeah.
friends with them, but you haven't cut him out. And then there was that other friend that I was talking about earlier that I'm like, no, I got to completely cut you out because you're.
That's yeah. Dude, I hate doing it because it sucks because I want to like people, I do,
Yeah, me
but
too.
yeah, like when my dad passed, like there was like literally half of my dad's side of the family, gangrene, get the fuck out of here, we're
Hmm.
done, like I don't need this, like you guys are fucking, you hold people emotionally hostage,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying, like, and you try to manipulate people, you try to get into the fuck, you know what I'm saying, and also like you expect people to do stuff, and I'm like we don't even get along, like, and then I'll never forget. Like, this is how, like, when I realized I made the smartest decision to leave was when I went back and I'm hanging out with my cousin Pat, the one I don't really talk to that much. And we're all hanging out at this bonfire on his property, and his buddy Larry's there. And he's like, "Man, if I had a chance to get laid, man, I'd be banging twins." fucking identical twins, 2 at a time. And his buddy goes, yeah, Pat, you tell him. Dude, it was like walking into the cafe in Back to the Future when Biff's buddy goes up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Biff and his friends, where Biff's telling these terrible jokes.
Oh,
and his
yeah,
friends
yeah.
are like, yeah, you tell him, Biff.
Mhm.
That's what, dude, it was immediate douche skills. And I was like, man, I want to fucking leave. If I had a rocket ship, I would go straight up.
Right.
If that was the only way that I could get out of this situation, I would climb in an Apollo fucking space shuttle and just fucking go straight up in the air.
Yeah.
Get me the fuck out of here. I don't want to. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And you know, and then some other things happened. I really don't want to get into it, but it made me have to like get rid of some of like literally half of them.
Mm.
And also like my dad spent a lot of time with one part his sister's family because she was a mess, so he wanted to make sure but he spent more of his time worrying about them than us.
Right.
So that's where like the whole absentee dad thing kind of came in.
Right.
And I kind of had a resentment for it. But also one thing I was thinking about too is like I never really got a chance to meet my mom's side of the family.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I barely know them. I'll be honest with you, man. I got uncles I never met. I got cousins I never met. Like all that. Dude, oh yeah.
Wow.
Like, you know, it's why when people give me shit about having like my mom's like, you still talk to your Uncle Ed? I'm like, yeah, I know he's a QAnon like fucking dude. But like, what do you want me to fucking do? Like, just throw him away. I just met the fucking guy, and I kind of like him, even though he's got a little bit crazy, politics.
Yeah, little, yeah.
Yeah, he's an old army dude. You don't want an old army guy on your fucking side, man. Seriously. Yeah. In these days, I would love an old army dude. Like, if shit hits the fan, you go to Uncle Eddie.
Dude, if I have to try to figure out how to work a claymore on my own, I'm probably gonna kill myself. I need an old army dude to fucking tell me this is how you set these up, you idiot. And I'm like, oh shit, thank you. You know, that's why it's. I don't know. My cousin Jim would probably think this is funny, maybe, hopefully, but I was kind of like, you know, the reason why I'm still talking to my cousin Jim because he spent 9 years in in the army, right? He spent time in Afghanistan. You want a dude like that on your team or something, you know what I mean? Like that's, I don't know. Yeah. Which there's a lot of reason why some guy, ladies, if you want to figure out, not that any woman is watching the show, like my own wife isn't watching this, but why do you have that asshole friend of yours? Because he's got a certain amount of skills that I might need useful later. So like,
yeah,
you know.
But like, no, I felt that fucking like I think I pinpointed it out. Where like, I'm mad at them for the fact that I never got to meet the other side because they're so goddamn needy. You know, where it was like, you know, I just never had a chance. And it was always like my dad's side of the family going, me. Now, granted, half of them, a good solid half of them, I love to death. Honest. Them, you know, it's my family. But, and there's about a couple of them that I'm fucking mad at, but I'm not written them off. But there's a couple that I'm done.
Yeah. Can't
do it anymore. I just can't. And then, you know, like they get mad at me and they fucking send me DMs and I don't read them. Why? It's coming from an angry place. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Why would I want to start from zero and go negative? It makes no sense. So I was like, I don't care. Yell at the wall. Go ahead. I don't give a fuck. Like you know, but like you need to sometimes. You have to for your own fucking sanity. I know that sounds kind of sociopathic, but like at the end of the day, though, like when are you gonna be able to like take care of yourself?
Yeah.
I'm not saying do it all the time, but like you got to take time for yourself. You have to for your own fucking sanity. If you're all, you know, fucking letting other people run roughshod over you just because of some like we're related. Like, okay, well, I fucking hate this fucking relationship.
I didn't ask for this. Man, I didn't ask to be born and be in your fucking nephew or whatever. But you know, you bring up a really interesting point because there's something I've been thinking about lately, and this might turn into a bit, but like okay, so what you're saying, because you're talking about all the things and the reasons for it, and that all makes sense, right? There's somebody in my family that, like, another family member was telling me about. Is like, you got to understand this person. They grew up in a completely different world than we did. You know, like the idea is that even if we disagree with our family, like we're still going to be there for each other. We might have to fucking bite our tongues to do it, but we'd still do it. You know what I mean? Because it's just, you know, that's how the, you know, like think about all the like your brothers that, you know, and everything you get along with. Like, dude, if they need something, you're going to be there for them. You know what I mean? That's not the way
Yeah.
this person's family is at all. Like they're like what you're talking about, like manipulative, the fucking angry, just denigrating all the time, and it's something that I have a hard time even relating to because I don't. There's nobody in my family that's like that, you know.
Damn. Wow. I'm
And
jealous.
yeah, see, like I said, there's a lot of shit that I have that I don't fucking that I don't cherish. But then there's also, let's say, the person that cuts out their family because of who they voted for.
No, I don't. Yeah. No.
So, but I'm like trying to like figure out what the difference is between that because it's like, okay, like I know everybody has their reasons, but like the idea that I was thinking of or the premise is like, you ever see a lady talk shit about her ex husband to her kids, and the kid's like, I'm half him, right? When you're talking shit about him, you're also talking shit about me, and it's like, hey, yeah, I wonder how come this guy has problems with women. Yeah, I don't know. But
Yeah.
so when somebody's like, dude, I fucking stopped talking to my parents and stuff because yeah, they just they're so behind the times and stuff, and I can't support anybody or be associated with anybody who supports that racist and all this other stuff, and I'm like, you're talking about you too, right? Because those
Yeah.
people raised you. So you're not any different than them. You just picked a different team as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? Like there's certain people when they were talking about that, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to talk to this person anymore. But
Yeah.
in the case like with my the family member was talking about, like they had their reasons to do that. It wasn't just that. Like maybe the follow up question. I'm just thinking out loud here. Just somebody says they stopped talking to the family because of political differences, there needs to be a follow-up question. I'm like, did they punch you a lot? Like, were there other things? Was there there's got to be other reasons why you cut them out of your life. It can't be just that. You know what I mean?
Like were they like really overbearing about a lot of shit, and this was like the final straw?
Yeah, because that would make
Was
sense
that,
to me. You know, but the person who just
oh,
like some like I know I fucking took 2 years of poli sci, so I know the difference between good people and bad people. And you, father, who raised me and sacrificed so much, fuck you, because because I don't like your stance on the Second Amendment, or I don't like mostly when people were doing that, it was about Trump. Let's be honest. There was a lot of people on my timeline or not a lot. There was a couple of people on my timeline that talked about almost bragging about how the fact they cut certain people out of their life. And I'm like,
yeah.
maybe that
No,
works. Maybe they'll applaud you in the classroom, but I'm not going to applaud you here just because I don't know. Family means a lot, man. And
and it sucks when you got to do that though.
yeah,
It's it's like I like I'm not. How can I equate it? Okay, it's kind of like abortion. Now hear me out, right?
Mm.
There's people that sit there and go, "I aborted my kid." They do a touchdown dance. They fucking like, "I'm a hero.
Mm-hmm.
I aborted a child." Woo woo woo. That person is a fucking weirdo. I don't get you.
Yeah.
But like, if you get one, you're like, I didn't want to, but it's just I couldn't because of X, Y, and Z. So I had to do the thing. I didn't want to. If you talk about like, that's how you should talk about it. That's how you should talk about also how you cut off family.
Yeah.
Like in a celebratory way, because
it puts a different spin on it. It's kind of like one of those you're like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, and if you're celebrating, you're fucking lying to yourself. That's the part that bothers me. Is you're blatantly lying to yourself, and it's going to catch up to you. You're eventually going to sit down one day when you're 60, and it's all going to hit you like a fucking tidal wave.
Yeah.
And you're going to be sad for the rest of your fucking life because you've been pushing that shit away, or it's just going to catch up to you in some other manifestations. Like you're going to get sick in a weird way, or something like that.
I would like to think. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But like, it's not fun. It fucking sucks to do this. It's not a thing I'm bragging about. It fucking blows. Because like I met my ex-wife through my cousin, who I decided I really want to talk to anymore. Like I met her through them.
Mm-hmm.
I had this life for like almost my entire 20s. That was like I was in that sphere with them, and then when it all came kind of blowing up, it kind of got weird in certain aspects, and it was one of those like they'd help me, but they'd also remind me that you're under my roof type of shit, and I'm like, all right, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
I'm too old. Yeah, I'm too over this shit.
Fair.
But like but like it was weird, and then like couple that with some other stuff, but like I don't take any joy in it. It's like the point I want to take. It's like plainly obvious. I'm not bragging. This shit fucking sucks.
Yeah,
And
I
I
never
just,
thought less of you for that. By the way, I'd probably mention that. Like I never, I'm like, no, that sucked because you would talk about your family, and I'm like, man, I can't relate. But no,
yeah,
you know what?
but it's
Actually,
like,
there was one member of the family that I had to stop talking to for a couple of years just because they were going through a lot of stuff, and it seemed like the more involved that I try to get and help, the worse I made things. So I
yeah,
stopped talking to them, but now, their life is way better and stuff, and they kind of did stuff that, they got better or they've been working on themselves on their own without somebody telling them, from the family that they need to do it, and I enjoy, I felt like I got that family member back, it's just sometimes you
yeah,
need a break from people, and it's kind of like, dude, I can't right now. like, you know,
yeah. And they're not. I don't know. It's kind of they're not pieces of shit people.
right.
You know, they're not. It just we don't. It doesn't. It's just not there no more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just that it sucks because like I wouldn't let this happen. If this is like my siblings,
Mhm.
this would not be. I would no. That's not a conversation I'd be having right now. I'd be like, oh no, I still talk to him. I give him shit constantly, but I still talk to him.
Yeah.
You know, like a cousin or something like that. I mean, at some point you just got to be like, I can't. I just with this, I can't. It's too much of a drain. I don't fucking deal with it. I got a lot of other shit going on. I really got. I mean, if anything, I've relegated them to like the third chapter.
Mhm.
I'll get to you later type of shit. You know, never say never, but like at the same time, like I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's like but yeah, when people brag about it though, like you were saying, that it creeps me out.
Yeah, it's usually from younger. Well, no, actually, I've seen there was this one dude on a fucking uh, when they, do you remember the G4 network?
Yeah,
Okay, so they try to bring it back, right? And
yeah,
they spent all this money on it, and it fucking tanked.
yeah,
And because there was this one fucking host that was like chastising the people who were viewing because people on the comment board saying that she wasn't fuckable, and she was saying like, oh, what, because I'm not fuckable, fuck you guys and whatever. And she did
yeah,
this big huge rant against their target audience. Like, guys, girls will eventually like video games as much as guys do, but they're not there yet. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But either way, she did this whole rant. Everybody's applauding her, and like, oh yes, yes, and all this other stuff. And then one of the other guys who was on one of the original hosts, Adam something or other, made a video about how he cut his parents out of his life. And I'm like, okay, so you're announced, I don't know. It just seemed kind of weird. So I've seen some people do some weird stuff, and I don't know what they've done since then. Maybe they got back together, or maybe they squared things over. But there was a lot of things that were just very destructive, and sometimes maybe I think people sometimes do, yeah, they do need to take a break, and I'm like trying to figure out what that difference was. But man, we talked about some personal shit today. We didn't talk about any current events, which was, hey, yay for us. We didn't bitch about the Denver comedy scene or the Phoenix scene. So once again, yay us. Because you know what I learned that after that set in Pueblo, that I'm like, man, comedy has a way of telling you, like, hey, remember, you still ain't shit. You know what I mean? You've
yeah,
been doing this for a long time, but you still ain't shit. You don't have the skills to go outside of your fucking comfort zone and still give people a quality show. You got a lot to learn and stuff. So I was like, oh yeah, thanks, comedy, appreciate that. So
yeah. But at the same time, it's also I love it. I love it because it's
mhm.
and but also at the same time, I would take that as like I need to work like
Yeah,
I could do better next time. Think of it better like that. Not like I need to learn and all this. No. You dude, you did it long enough. You know what the fuck you're doing.
yeah,
That was a weird set, a little off. Just maybe like keep that in the back of your mind. How can I not let that happen?
yeah,
What can I do? Break it down into a point where you can analyze it and then fix it and don't dwell on it. Because
yeah.
dwell on it doesn't work.
Oh yeah,
But
no,
like,
no.
but from the sounds of how you're describing it, so I've had sets like this, especially at fucking Voodoo. Voodoo was notorious for this,
Yeah.
where like you would get a room, first joke lands, right?
Mm-hmm.
First joke lands. There's no carryover.
Yeah.
It's like building a sandcastle at high tide.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yeah.
and then the thing is that makes the lulls bad though. It makes
Yeah.
it worse. there's no, they're not giving you anything. There's no residue from other shit.
Yeah.
It's fucking, it's just a,
It's like
it's
you're
a
starting
clean
from
cut
beginning, from like the beginning of your set 15 times. And you're like, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's like, it's so, fuck, man. It's just so, yeah. But there's shit you can take out of that by being like maybe listen, because you recorded it, right?
You know what? I'm glad I got the audio. I was gonna record it with my video camera, and I'm really glad I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yeah, I don't need to relive it that much. But
Yeah.
yeah. Like I said, I don't know. It's been an interesting week. Next week, I'm sure I'm gonna try to have some current events to talk about and everything, so we actually have some structure to the show. But
I'm pretty sure that we're going to be having a all-out war with China and Russia. So, woo. We talk about that.
yeah, that's always fun. And yeah, I think that's it. Oh, yeah, there's some things I was going to tell you about, but I'll do it after we stop recording, because certain things, guys, when it's about people that we like, there's a reason why we try to be, either of us, we try not to use anybody's names and stuff. One, because you don't feed the bears, but two, we're just trying to be respectful, because if somebody's not here to friggin' defend themselves or put their side of the story, I think it's kind of shitty to say anything negative about them publicly, unless they really pissed me off. But that is what it is. But guys, don't forget, we also put the audio of this up on Spreaker or on Spotify. I got those up and running. So we're on iTunes, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you get podcasts from and stuff. You can come check us out. And I got to find a way to tell the people on the Mansplaining Show. I should probably do one episode or just a little blurb on there and be like, hey, by the way, this show is over. We're now doing this other show, We Talkin' Pod. Please subscribe to us there. And hopefully we'll get some people to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So nobody watched this time, but that's fine. We're used to that. Like I said, some of the best shows are done to a bunch of empty chairs. So, because I'm looking at the live feed on YouTube and stuff, and last time we had a couple concurrent viewers, we didn't have anybody this time.
Yeah, once I get moved into my new place and I get situated, I'm gonna start taking over, making thumbnails, stuff like that.
So yeah, sure.
That'll be my end of the deal, and we'll talk about. This is all inside baseball shit. We can just
we'll fair enough, man. All right, guys. Signing off for We Talking. I'm Dave.
I'm Jake.
Y'all have a great week. All right, and we're done recording the audio, and the stream